All right, today we're going to talk about report styling. This webinar is divided into several sections. And so what I want to do is I want to make sure that between each section, I'm going to do some questions, and when there is an appropriate time to stop and look at these questions, I want to answer them so that we can get to what your questions are. I mean, it's not good to do webinars with people in the room. So please, if you do have any questions, I want to answer them. I want to get to what you want to know about styling. I will let you know the following. Members of DevExpress will testify to this fact that I myself have no personal style. And so because of that, you're going to see me making reports with how you use the styles, but not necessarily that it'll look cool, because as my wife will tell you, she has to oversee me going out of the house so I'm not an embarrassment to her or the family. So I just want you to know that beforehand, okay? So I'm just going to look at how to set up styles and how to use them mechanically, but maybe not artistically. If any of you out there have any suggestions, I'd love to hear them. All right, so we're going to talk about appearance properties and how to set those for controls. Then we're going to talk about styles and style sheets and how to set those up and apply them to controls. Then we're going to look at conditional formatting so that we can have styles based on particular expressions that we can set up. And then we're going to look at something that I call whenever formatting, because I didn't know where to put it, because you can actually hook into any controls before print event and fix it, whether in code or in scripts, and I'm going to show you both. So again, if there's any questions or something you'd like me to focus on in particular, feel free to shoot us a question or let us know, and we'd love to help out. All right, so let's start out with the XR control. The XR control is pretty interesting. It turns out that the XR control is the ancestor of all of these other controls, like the line, the page info, the table row, the barcode, the shape, and even the subreport, which is kind of interesting. One thing that I didn't know that I found out recently is the XR control is also a descendant of the band. And so you can apply styles not only to controls, but since bands are in essence also XR controls, styles will apply to it. As you also know, in every report band, you can include several controls. Like here's an example. In a band, you can set up an XR panel, and in the panel, you can have an XR table and an XR picture. The way that styles are applied is if you put the style on the band, it will apply the style not only to the band, but to also all of its children all the way down the tree. And I'll show you how that works by setting a default font for the entire report. I'll show you that. And it's pretty cool how that works. So something to remember is that the appearance properties are set on the descendant, the XR control. All right. Some of the properties that you can set on the XR control, or pretty much any control you drag onto the report, are the back color and fore color. We also have borders for border color, borders, and border width. We can set those up. We have text alignment, padding, and then we have this cool little here styles thing, you know, that we can set up. Uh-oh. Let me go back here. This cool little styles property that we can set up, and I'll show you how to use those in the reports. Next, we're going to talk about style sheets and how to override styles. We're going to talk about odd and even styles and how those are set up. And then we're going to talk about conditional formatting, which is the capability to define the appearance properties for a report element, which should be applied if a certain condition is met, and we're going to do that with some expressions. All right, that's all of my slides. I figured we would start fresh with a brand new Visual Studio project. And I'm going to use a database that you guys all have. If you have our installation set up and you have the examples in there, you will also notice that the database I'm using comes directly from one of our samples, and it's the Northwind database. All right, so let's make a new Forms project. And let's just call it Styles project. Okay, the first thing that I'm going to do is I always rename the form to something useful. Now I'm going to add a folder for the data. And I'm going to also add something that already exists. What I've done is I set up a favorite for where all of the DevExpress demos are. Notice that on my particular installation, it's under C, Users, Public, Documents, DevExpress 2010.2 Demos. You have them somewhere also in your installation, wherever you install them. If you go to Components, in here we have all of our demo code. Let's go to Data, and under Data, I'm going to say star.mdb to find all of the Access databases that we have. The one I'm going to use is Northwind. We have others that you're welcome to use and abuse. So let's hit Add. Visual Studio right away recognizes this as an Access database, and so what I'm going to do is I am going to make a data set. Pick all the tables and hit Finish. All right, let's look at this data set real quick. All right, we are going to make a customer report. And this customer, notice, is going to have some orders, and there's going to be some order details for that particular customer. And we're going to set up a report in that fashion. Okay. Let's add a report. Let's call it the customer report. So go ahead and add all of the references. And it's going to build up the designer like we would want to have it. Okay, the first thing we need to do is we need to set the data source. We're going to pick the Northwind data set, and we're going to choose the customer's data member. And notice that because of that, we want to use the customer's data adapter. I'll take this categories one out because we don't need it. All right, so what we've done already is we've set up a solution with a Windows Form solution that has data, and we've created a new report in that particular project. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at fields and start to drag on some of the fields that we want to set up. So here is a company name, the company that ordered the product, and the contact name here. All right, so we'll set that up like that. When we go to preview, you'll see that it builds everything exactly like we would want it. Let me bring up this bottom here, and let's hit preview, and you'll see that this report has been built. Pretty simple, right? The first thing we want to do is I want to show you how setting the report style properties actually filters down to the company. One nifty thing that I always like to look at is the Report Explorer, because it shows you how things are set up hierarchically. Okay, so let me set up some report styles here and show you how they will filter down all the way to the bottom. We are going to change the font of this report to Verdana and hit OK. Notice that automatically, because a report is an XR control, what happens is all of the children of this particular XR control, the first one being the detail, the top margin, the second being the detail, and the last being the bottom margin, because of that, that particular Verdana font will filter down even all the way down to the XR label. Notice you see it right there. Okay, let me show you how if I drag a new XR control or XR label onto the top, it is also Verdana. And let me put it up here in the margin, and let's call it a customer report. All right, very good. Now let me show you again, last by adding an XR page info at the bottom. Right, we're going to have this be the page number. Notice that to set the styles here, we just use the text alignment style. I set it to the middle. I'm going to do one more page info and move it over to the right. And in there, I'm just going to put the date. The page info is pretty interesting control because you can do a number of things. You can say the username, the high number, low number. Let's just use DateTime. And let's set the text alignment to right, middle left. All right, let's preview it. And now we see the customer report. Okay, we haven't done very much, but again, the first goal was to show you, yeah, you can set the styles on the controls themselves. It's not anything super difficult. In fact, it's pretty simple. I bet you've already used it this way, in fact, and I'm betting most of you have already done this and are pretty comfortable with this. So let me change the style of the text alignment of this to middle, the bottom, and let me show you making the font a little bit bigger. Let's do 20, let's do 18, and bold it. Okay, we need to make this a little bit bigger over here. And for those of you that don't know, we have these nifty things at the top where you can center things horizontally and vertically. Let me move this down and center it horizontally. Very good. Okay, so let's take a look at it. Let me expand this a little bit more. And now we can look at the preview. Here's a customer report. That really doesn't do very much. All right, Amanda, any questions for this first section?
Yes, from Jeff. Could the use of this with XPO be discussed as it's not the same? Do you have any?
You know, it's about the same. Let me see if I can do something real quick with XPO. I can't guarantee it, but I bet it's not going to be too hard. So let me add a new class, and I am going to do a persistent object, and I'm going to call it I don't know, person. Right, in this particular class, we are going to add some particular thing. So XPS, let's say we want to do a property of, I don't know, first name, right? So we'll set that like that. XPS last name. Incidentally, the reason why I did this so fast is because CodeRush is awesome. And so when I say XP, for example, D8, right? That is a DateTime XPO property, right? I'm going to set that as the birth date, right? You can do the same thing with, for example, I think XPI will work. No, that doesn't work. Or you can set up bindings for it. But for example, XPS and XP D8 will also work. Oh, I need to get out of the focus here. Okay, let me try XPI one more time. There you go. So notice that we've set up an XPO object. Right, pretty simple one. I'm going to create a static member of this to generate some people. So public static, we're going to do a person list, get data, and I am going to make some new people. Persons equals new person, and then we're going to add some. By default, new person. First name equals Seth. Oops, string. Last name equals Juarez. Incidentally, I would say that I am 31 years old, and birth date is going to be new datetime.now dot subtract. Let's see, add days. So this makes it so I was born yesterday. Isn't that great? We're going to add one more new person. And I will show you that the reason why I'm doing this because I want to show you that it's actually the same. There's really no difference when we're doing styles. Mahul, how old are you?
59.
Mahul is 59 years old. Man, he's on his way to retire.
For his age.
Yeah, I know he does. Well, not really. I didn't want to say anything because so we're going to do datetime.now. Since he's 59, we're going to have to say he was born 2 days ago. All right. And we're going to say persons.save. Oh, I need to do a new XP collection. XP collection of person collection equals new XP collection, and we're going to pass in Maybe I should have done it that way. And then we'll say it like this. I wonder if that works. It should work. Okay. All right, so then we can say collection.save. And we can say collection. Now, I know I'm not doing the session stuff right, but again, I just want to get data in and get data out is really what I'm doing. So let's say return. Actually, I don't even need to save it. Return collection. Okay, so I don't even need to save it. Okay, let's compile and make sure it works. All right, that works. Now I'm going to make a new report. In fact, I should have made a folder called reports. So let me call it reports, and let me add a new XPO report. And we're going to go to reporting. We're going to create a class, and we're going to call it a person report. All right, in the person report, we're going to go to the data source. We don't want to do the Northwind data set, so we're going to say add project data source, use object. Or actually, we could probably just drag on an XPO object. Let me do that. That'd be the easiest one. So let's scroll down. Oops. Here it is. Data. We want an XP collection, right? And the XP collection object class info will be. Let me rebuild. Okay, we are going to do person. All right, so let me refresh, let me rebuild. Notice that I need to set the data source. Very good. The data member obviously is going to be this XP. There's no need for a data member, in other words. So we have that there. Let me show you now. When you look at the field list, everything is there like we had before. So in answer to your question, notice that the only thing that we've changed is how we've gotten the data. The styling in and of itself will not change. Now, if I didn't use the session right or those kinds of things, I mean, that's a topic for another webinar where we look at how to use XPO and how to bind to it properly. But notice that the process that I used was almost identical with the exception of dragging on an XP collection. So I hope that answered his question. All right, Ahmed, any other questions or comments?
Nope, we're good to go.
All right, sounds good. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to do is I don't need this XPO thing anymore, so I'll just take it out. So let me delete that. Okay, let me delete this report here, and let me start over again with the customer report. We're gonna do it again, but in this this particular. What we're going to do now is we're going to do it a little bit differently because now I want to show you how to use styles. All right, so we're going to add a new report, and we're going to call it customer orders. All right, just as before, I'm going to bind it to the data set here. And I am going to choose, holy cow, we've already burned through 21 minutes. I like it. Let's get the customer's adapter here, and let's delete this. Okay. Now, just as you remember before, what I did is I like to set the default font by going to the report itself, which is also a descent. Well, let me explain. The report is actually a descendant of the band control. As you saw earlier, the band control is a descendant of the XR control, right? So the style properties apply to the report as a whole. So we're going to set up some fonts here. We're going to go to Verdana because that's what I like, and hit OK. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a band, a report header. And then that's where I'm going to add my my title. So we're going to say customer orders, and then move it over. Okay, and then we'll center that guy. Okay, so we'll leave that like that. The next thing we're going to do is, because this is a customer report, we're going to again go for company name here and contact name here. Now, in order to make this a little bit more interesting, we need to bring some more fields on here. Okay, so the first one we're going to bring is the, let's see, there should be an address. Yep, we'll do address here. City. We're going to do, oops. Incidentally, whenever you see this little red thing happening, if you don't know what that is, what's happening is once we start to have stuff fall outside of the range of the report or overlap other controls, it's hard to render these things in the various output formats that we have. And so our suggestion is to, I mean, it will work if you just leave it like that, but our suggestion is really, if it's saying it's overlapping, it's probably the safest thing to actually put it into the region so that when you export, the export formats are looking okay. And that's not a limitation of the reporting software, more as it is a limitation of the exporting, because we have to make it work in whatever export format we set it to. And so that's something I wanted to throw out there. So we're going to do city, and let's put the phone over here. Oh, let's put the region over here. Region, and then we'll do phone here, and postal code right there. All right. So here's a little report that we set up. Let's look at it. Looks okay. But notice that there's some confusion here, right? Notice that we don't really know when one starts and when one ends. So before we change that, I'm going to add a detail report for customer orders. And inside the customer orders, I'm going to set up, for example, an order ID and an order date. I'm sorry, an order date and a required date. Okay, so there you go. Looks like that region field is almost always empty, so let me just take it out and move this stuff up. Very good. Okay, so let's take a little preview. Wonderful. All right, so the first thing we're going to need to do is we need to notice that this detail report is itself also a report, so I am going to add a report header for this particular report. And the reason why I'm doing that is so that we just know exactly what each of these things are. So we're going to call this a order ID. This was order date. Notice that when I click on the particular fields at the right, you see that they're actually highlighting where it's coming from. So order date. And lastly, required date. All right, so let's move these over. Uh-oh. So that they show up together. This one we're going to make a little bit bigger to match. The guides are there to help you align things up. I think they're pretty useful. And we'll go ahead and set this up like this. All right. Oh, one more thing that I need to do is these formats. Let's set the format string of these things so that we can know that they're single dates. So date time, perfect. Here we're going to do another one. Date time. All right. So now let's look at it. It should look fairly good. Okay. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to do styles. Notice all I've done is I've set up the structure, but I really haven't made it look good. So one site that if you ever heard Mark Miller's Science of Great UI, he pointed me to this site where you can pick colors. So what I'm going to do is I am going to use some colors from here. So let's see. Let's pick one that let's use Winter Twilight. The reason why is because Mahul is a very huge Twilight fan. He is definitely Team Jacob on that one, and so I wanted to get a color theme that Mahul would sort of identify with. Is that okay, Mahul?
Yeah. Team Edward sucks.
Okay. All right. So that was good stuff. We're too close to Radio City. It's getting to me. All right, style sheet. This is where you add the styles. The first style we're going to add is the title style. And I'm going to say title. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the back color one of these colors over here. Let's make it this one. And notice that there's an RGB, and I'm just going to use that. So it's 176, 167, 176, 167, and the last number was 168. Okay, so there you go. That's the back color, right? Notice that we want the font is already inherited, right? The fore color we're going to set to the white color. I need to change the font because I want it to be a little bit larger, so I'm going to do 20 font and set it to Verdana bold. Okay. Next, we want the alignment to be set to the middle. So let's hit close and close. And you're saying, well, Seth, that didn't do anything. Well, you just hold on one second. When I go and enlarge this, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the styles of this particular control. Where'd they go? There they are. Then we're going to go to style collection, and we're going to choose title as the style. Right? Notice automatically it sets it to customer orders. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is I am going to change the color of this, because this is going to be like a sort of a style for each new customer that we're going to show. Right? So let's go to style sheet. And let's add a new style, and let's call it, for example, customer style. Okay. What we're going to do now for this is we're going to choose a different back color. We're going to choose the lighter one. So let's do this one, the pink color, 246, 208, 197. 246, 208, 197. Was that what I said? 249. Oh, yeah, 246, 208, 197. Perfect, and we're going to leave everything else. No, we're going to do the text alignment to left. Okay, so let me hit close. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to set the style of these two things to the same style. Notice I selected two controls, but since they're both XR controls, we can set these properties simultaneously. So let's go to the style, and let's set the title style. Uh-oh, didn't work. Well, you're wrong, because I was the one that didn't work that time. We want customer style. Very good. Oops, I didn't select it. We want customer style. There you go. And what we're going to do is we're going to move this over to the left, middle left. Notice that this one is set to middle left, but we don't want that, right? We want to set it to middle right, and that's okay. You'll see something happened, right? And this is something that we said. Now, this is just for your information. But notice that because we said use text alignment to false, that we're using the controls style itself. Look what happens when I take it off. This is something we set automatically. I wouldn't suggest playing around with it. Usually, if you're going to set a style and then go ahead and on that XR control set a new style, that to us means that you want that style. So that's where those things are set. This becomes important only when you're coding the styles indirectly, right? All right, so let's take a look at the report. All right, it's looking different. Now we need to do something here, right? So let's go to the designer. Let's see, how many colors do we have left? We already used this one. We already used this. Let's use this other blue for the actual orders, okay? So let's go back, and we're going to create an order band style. So let's hit add, and we're going to say order band style. And what we're going to do is we're just going to set the back color to this color right here, 110, 124, 143, 110, 124, 143. We'll double check. 110, 124, 143. Great. We'll set that up. Oh, and we'll also set the style to have those things centered, right? So that's the order band style. We need to make sure to have the text alignment be bottom center. Okay. Close. So we select these three controls. And we can set the style to order band style. All right, so let's preview. All right. It looks like it's working. Now, one thing is that sometimes if you have a lot of orders, the problem is going to happen that they start to become indistinguishable, right? So I'm going to show you how to do odd and even styles. So for the odd styles, for the even styles, we're going to set up a new style. Okay, and we're going to change the back color to the lightest color that we have over here. I think we already used that one. Did we use that one already? That's all right. So it's 249, 238, 216, 249, 238, 216, if I remember right. Very good. And we'll say OK. Notice we want all these things to be aligned to the right. So I can go to the style sheet. So this is the odd order style. It's actually going to be even, but that's okay. We won't tell anyone. All right, so we'll set it to middle center, close, and then we'll do this. Okay. In the styles, we are going to set the even style to the odd order style because that is just weird. But that's what we'll do. All right, see that? Now you're saying, Seth, but that looks weird for the other ones. It does. So now we need to do an even style. Or maybe I should just switch them and call them the right thing, right? So we'll say odd style is the odd style, and then we'll add an even style. So style sheet, add. We're going to say even order style. And for that, we're just going to set the text alignment to, I think I had middle center before. All right, so we're going to go over here. We're going to select these controls. We're going to go to styles. And we're going to set the, we'll just switch them. We'll leave even style to be the odd style and odd style to be the even style. Okay, let's hit preview. All right. There you go. Notice that I haven't done much, and it's not anything. I haven't done anything special, but now visually, the report makes sense. Remember, before it was a lot of information and it was nice, but it really didn't make sense. But now it does. And what we've done is we've used a style sheet to fix that. Right? Notice that if I were to go back and change any of the styles, here, let me show you. Say, for example, I don't know. Let's find, for example, this style right here, the order band style. You can change that right in here. So say, for example, the fore color is just, we want it to be white. Notice that when I change it, I only got this control highlighted it, but when I change it, it changed it for all of the other controls that also had that style applied. All right, so let's take a look at it. And there it is. All right, Amanda, any questions or comments?
Yes, we do have some. Let's see. From Al, how do you handle localized date formats when you have to support multiple countries in an ASP.NET app?
Oh, that is a good question. One of the things that I would do is there is a format string that you can set up. That's a good question. So let me go to customer order date. Notice that when you hit this ellipsis, all we're really doing is we're giving you suggestions. This is literally a string, right? You can save that string somewhere and pass it into the report and have it formatted that way. And I'll show you how to do that later on when we do coded formatting. But notice that is just a string that you can pass in. You can even have global definitions for this and just pass it right into the report. So that's a really good question.
While you're at it, he had an additional, how do you handle localized times also?
Same way. Because it's just a string, the format string, you can pass that format string in, right? Or you can, for example, in the report itself, you can get, okay, let me see if I can get some code here. So let's see, view code. What is it? I think it's called system.globalization.current UI culture. Oh, geez. Culture info equals culture. There is a class, and I don't know what it is. If you could send me an email. But what happens is you can tell the thread what culture is being used, and the format string can be provided for you automatically. And so I can show you how to do that, but you have to send me an email, right? Because, like I said, the previous place where I was working at, we had this very same problem. And what I did is I put each report on its own worker thread, and based upon the culture of the requesting caller, that thread changed its own culture to the caller's thread, right, on the server. Because we created our own, we created our own report server that used extra reports. But each report was built on its own thread, and that thread's culture was set up automatically. So, for example, if you go to system.threading.thread. I think there's current context. Let's see here. No, you can get the current thread. Let's see. Current thread, that's right. Current thread. You can set the UI culture right there, right? And when our reports are running, right, if it's running on a particular thread, that thread can inform the report what's going on. So on your before print events, you can say, hey, thread, what's my current culture? Okay, how do you want me to print the dates? Okay, I'll do it. And that's the way I would do that. All right, any other questions?
Yes, from Bran. If we change the style sheet, but it has same style names, do we have to set the styles to each object again?
One more time. Can you repeat that? Sorry.
Yeah, sure. If we change the style sheet, but it has the same style names, do we have to set the styles to each object again?
Okay, so if I'm understanding the question is you want to make a new style, right? Well, let's just try it. Let's just do it. So he's saying, let's see if I understand. You have a style sheet, right? You change the name of one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't understand the question all the way. The key item is that you're actually the XR control itself is getting a reference to the particular style. What's that?
Let's see.
Yeah, it says that the new style should maybe change it via code.
Oh, I see. So yeah, there is a way, and I wasn't even going to talk about it. Thanks for reminding me. You can tell the report. Got it. You can tell the report. That's a good question, actually. You can tell the report itself. Where is it? Let's see. The style sheet. There. You can tell the report a style sheet path. Now, if they're named the same, it should work. I'm pretty sure. If it doesn't, you send me an email because that would be the expected behavior as far as I know. And then if not, then we'll see what it is. But you can set for the report a style sheet path, and those names, yeah, definitely should transfer over automatically. In fact, I don't know if I showed you this, but you can do something pretty cool with the style sheet. You can just save it. Right, so if I were to go and create a new report, let me go to the solution and add a new report. Okay, here. And then what I want to do is I say, oh, I want all those styles. Notice that I can automatically load them. Whoa, they're all there, right? Exactly the same way they were before, right? And so it seems to me that definitely referencing them by name should work. Good question. Any other questions?
Yes, from Booker. What if you didn't want to change all the header styles, i.e. order ID, order date? For instance, a different color.
Okay, so these you want a different color?
I guess.
Okay, let's see. What you do, honestly, is you just change it. What happens automatically is that the style priority is changed. And it says that we are definitely not using the style sheet because it says false, right? So if I were to put this back, notice it would be fixed. This would put it back. Hopefully that answers your questions. Any other questions?
Okay. Yeah. Al, can he show the passing of the DateTime format string technique? So I can
I
provide a
could.
format string? Okay.
This is what I'd like to do, if that's okay. If you could send me a demo project, or maybe even I could do it. If you could send me an email, I could show you how to do that. But that deals more particularly with data, not necessarily with the styles. I still. How about this? If I can get through the rule, because there's one more thing that I want to show you. Two more things actually. There's something called formatting rules. I want to show you how to use those. So if we get past this, if we don't get past this in time, then send me an email and I'll go ahead and work something out for you and show you. Because it's definitely a very interesting problem, one that is easily solvable. We just need to know there's some steps that need to be taken. But yeah, good question. Any other questions? We'll take one more.
Yeah. How do you assign a style to the whole report?
Oh, just pick the report itself. Remember, the report is itself an XR report. I'm sorry, an XR control. So if you go to there should be a. Well, I don't see that property on the report. What you would do is, honestly, I would just pick the band that you want to do it in and then set it globally. But you know what? I don't know why you would want to do that. If you want to do that, just go to the report. Okay, this makes sense. Just go to the report itself and set the styles here. Because the styles are applied not only to the current control but all of its children, notice it says only one report in this object. If you set the styles there, they will automatically propagate all the way down through. Does that make sense? So hopefully that helps. All right, we're going to move on to style rules, okay? What I want to do is let's pretend that, okay, so it looks like these dates are all 94, 95. So let's say any required date that's younger than 1995, we're going to say we need to highlight that special, okay? So this is what I'm going to do. I am going to create a formatting rule. So there's two components to formatting rules. We have the actual rule itself, and then we have the actual styles that we need to apply. The first is the expression. The second is the style. Let's deal with the style first. So let's set up the formatting rule sheet and add a rule. What we're going to do is notice that this rule is on the required date. So what we're going to say is we're going to go to this condition editor. Now this might be a little daunting at first, but it's not as hard as it looks. The first thing that there are functions, what we can do. We have operators, fields, constants, variables, and parameters. Those are the parameters that you put into the report. Fields is what we're going to use, right? Notice that the root is customers. It is the particular required date that we are interested, right? So required date is less than or equal to, we said December, let's make it less than 1995. So we go to functions. Let's do some date time. Let's get the let's add some years. Add years. So we add years to the current day. So we're going to get today, and we are going to add. So what year are we in? 2010. So that means we want to subtract 15. Oh, we're 2011. Happy New Year, everybody. Just wanted to throw that out. Yeah, welcome to the future. We're going to subtract 16 then. And what we're going to say is that if the required date is less than 16 years ago, we're going to do something with that. And what we're going to do is we're going to make it this red color, right? Because that's telling us that something needs to happen. So we're going to send this and name this, for example, required date rule, and we're going to hit close. Okay. Very good. Now, formatting rules are the rules that should be applied to this particular control. Notice that setting the formatting rules for this report as a whole with the rule we set up doesn't make sense, right? The rule belongs on this XR control, right? So notice that we have a formatting rule here, rules here, and what it's going to say is say, okay, pick all the rules that you want this control to have applied to it. Okay. All right, so let's preview. Look at that. Notice that anything that is younger than 1995 is automatically highlighted. Because of the way the rules work, these kinds of rules take precedence over all of the other styles, right? So say, for example, you have a parent control that has a style applied. That applies to that child. And then you have a style on that child that has styles applied. This rule would get applied above the other two, right? Because it's meeting an expression criteria. And so now notice that we have this, we've set this up so that we can, we know exactly which ones were less than that. Did I say less than or greater than? Okay. All right. So any questions?
Yes. Let's
Okay.
see. Well, actually, I think we've answered all of them.
Well, look at that. Isn't that fancy?
Hold on. I think we just got. Somebody said that rule is not working properly.
Oh, okay. What's going on? Let me take a look. What I need to do some math to figure out what the heck it's doing. So let's do a calculator, right? We're in 2011. We're going to subtract 16. Gosh, I can't be that stupid. So it should be anything less than 95. It looks like there's a problem here. Let's figure out what's going on. All right, let's go to the required date rule over here. Formatting rule sheet. And let's go here. So we have the required date is less than or equal to add years today minus 16. Oh, that's odd. It doesn't seem to be doing the right thing. Let's do this. Let's put a date in there explicitly. There's got to be a date function. So let's see. Date. So date diff, date hour, get day. There's got to be a way to set up the date here. Let's try now instead of today and see what happens. Okay. All right. Let's hit preview and make sure that it's working. No, there's still this one showing up. I'm not quite sure why that's happening. Let me do something here. Let me go over here and let's print this rule out here. So let's get a simple button going. And let's just show the report. All right. So I think it was customer report. Let me double check here. Customer orders. No, not show designer. We want to show preview dialog. All right, let's take a look. Yeah, it looks like it's for some reason getting the required date here wrong. Let me double check the rule one more time just to make sure. And if it doesn't work, then I'll have to see what's going on. There might be a problem. All right, let's look at the formatting rules. We already got that. Formatting rule sheet. Add years now. Yeah, I'm not sure why it's happening. Let me find the field again and make sure. So we're at customers. Customer orders was the detail, and we want required date is less than. Let's do greater than or equal to and make sure. See what's going on there. All right, let's hit close. Let's preview. Yeah, that seems to be working. I'm not sure. There must be something weird going on. I'll have to look into that. But would you, whoever pointed that out, would you send me an email just to make sure that I look into that? Looks like the greater than or equal to is working just fine, right? Because all these things are greater than or equal to January. What are we now? 11th. So that looks like it's working. There must have been something weird going on. I'm not sure. All right. Any other questions?
No. Dave, who pointed it out, said if there is one in the group that meets the criteria, it highlights the entire thing?
Technically, it shouldn't. It should only be on the control that meets the criteria. Because notice that what's happening is each time this thing is printed out, it's saying, okay, control. Do you meet this condition? Yes. Okay. Do the formatting. Okay, next control. Do you meet the condition? Yes. Okay, format. Next control. Do you meet the condition? No, don't do it. So that would be my that's how it works. But yeah, send me an email. I want to make sure that there must be something wrong. I want to make sure it gets fixed, and then maybe I just did something wrong. That's probably the most probable thing. All right, any other questions?
No, not right now. We don't have any questions.
Cool. All right, let me make sure to clear everything here. Okay. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you because we were gonna do first the regular styles and the control, then we're going to do style sheets, and I'm going to show you the rules. Now I'm going to show you how we can just do whatever the heck we want. This is the greatest part of this, I think, because if we want
Seth?
to, yes.
Sorry to interrupt you, but this is still on the same. You did get a question about gradient styles, or do we just have solid colors, or is there a gradient?
That's a good question. Let me look. Looks like we don't have gradients, but that's a very good suggestion. We've just added some different dashes, but gradients is an interesting suggestion. One thing that you might be able to do, let me see here. You can probably set a watermark. Let me see. Let me hit the. You can set a watermark and put it behind the particular control. I would try that. Well, let's see. It looks like the watermark, is that just for the report? Can you do watermarks for controls? No, I don't see a way to do that. That's a very interesting suggestion. Please send me an email and I'll add it to our queue. Good question. Any others?
No, you're good to go.
Okay, thanks. All right, now we're going to go crazy, and we're just going to access the thing and change it willy-nilly. So for this company, let's change the label this a label that makes sense. So label company, right? Oops, I spelled company like company. Okay, that's embarrassing. We're in New York. It's okay though. We're allowed to make spelling mistakes. That's what I was told at the office. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the event and we're going to say before print. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, XR label, right? L equals sender as XR label because that is what's sending me the event, right? Then I'm going to say L dot get. Let's see, L dot report, right? Because that's the report. We're going to get the current column value of company name. So var name. Okay, so now here's the thing. First of all, you've probably noticed something that I've already exceeded my New York misspelling, but that's okay because I'm going to show you how you can fix this. One of the great things about writing software is that you can step in and see what the heck's going on. All right, so let me hit the button. Notice we hit it there. We got the label. F10, F10. When we get the current value, notice that it's null. You're going to say, what happened? You can go in there and fix it. So we're going to say company name, right? So let's run it again. F10, F10. We should be able to get the name. Notice that there it is. Okay, now here's the thing. I want you to I need to spend a minute telling you what's going on. When I say L.report, it's getting the report of that particular control, right? So if you look at it, the report for this control is this. So the context is that we are doing a customer query. If I was down here and I said L.report, it would get the detail report and it would be on the current customer order. Okay, does that make sense? So let's go over here to customer orders and let's say the following. If name dot to lower. Oh, that should be a string. Oh, well, let's force it to be a string. It's returning it as an object. If name dot to lower dot starts with the letter A, we're going to say L dot for color equals, let's do color dot aqua. Here, look at this. Look, you see that cool thing? Yes, that is Code Rush. Let's pick a color that makes it we know what's going on. So we'll set red. Isn't that spiffy? Let's do L dot back color. I think I got these wrong. I wanted to do them backwards. Color dot black. Okay, so let's switch these around because I meant to do it the other way. Sorry. So the back color is going to be like this, and the fore color is going to be color dot white. Okay, so notice that we've done is we really just said, okay, I just want to deal with it myself. So let's do that. Uh-oh. Oh, jeez. That's embarrassing. I've already exceeded my mistakes for everything already. It's really embarrassing. All right, so Mahul put his hand over his head. He's just like, I can't believe I'm in the same room. I'm going to see the Rockettes. All right, so let's go over here and notice that the color did change, but it's not noticeable. So let me do something a little bit better. So let's change the color here, and let's change it to something that's completely different. Color dot blue. Uh-oh, something's not right. All right, let's make sure that I'm doing this right. So label company before print. Let's hit play. All right, so this is the label. Let's get the name. This name to lower, it should set that here. And color out white, back color out blue. F5. It's doing this for each control. Oh gosh, the demo demons have got me again. How embarrassing. All right, let's see what's going on. So back color first. This really shouldn't matter. I don't know why it's weird. Notice it's changing the, oh, I know what it is. Let's go over here and make sure that I'm not doing something crazy with the control itself. Notice, oh, I know exactly what's happening. Notice that we have a customer style. What do I need to do with the style priority? Yes, I forgot, right? So we need to say this, L dot style dot. Am I running still or something? No, okay. So we want to say L dot, and let's get style priority dot use back color equals false. See, I told you about this at the beginning, and it bit me in the butt. I'm so sorry. You notice that I told you not to set it, except when you're doing your own colors, right? And so I completely spaced that. Yeah. If that doesn't work, then that's what's going on, right? I have to tell it to override the style and use my back color because otherwise it's going to use the style. So there you go. All right. Last thing, I promise, and then we'll get to your questions. Let's copy this code, and let's remove the event because we can. Right, so this code is all gone. It's not being used anymore. And let's go over here to the, where are we? We want to look at these scripts. We have the label. We say on before print. We say here is the code. Booyah. So now we can say this. And there it is. Right? Notice before I had to go directly through the code and hit the button, right? That's because this stuff was only applied at runtime. But now because we're putting in the scripts, we can also preview it here, right? And I think that's the cool part. Notice that it's the same code. Sender is XR label. I've gotten the current column value. I said if the lower starts with A, then we're going to set the priority, right? Let's do something a little smarter and do everything that starts with AN, right? So we're going to say AN, hit preview, and there you go. Okay, so we've taken quite a bit of a tour through styles. Notice that, at least for me, it's a lot more than I actually originally thought. Hopefully you've noticed that this is not exactly like CSS, but it's kind of like it, right? What you're doing is that the general idea is you have a style, you set it for a control, the control has that style, and it also all of the descendants. If you want to override styles, you're welcome to do that. If you want to create conditions or rules, you can also do that. And finally, if you just want to go willy-nilly and do whatever you want, you can do that in code and or in scripts. And we've done both. All right, Amanda, now we need to get to all the questions.
All right. Well, let's see. From Jeff, what was that color website address?
Oh, yeah. Cooler.adobe.com.
Cooler.
Yeah. Who was that? Jeff that asked that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jeff. I would have picked like some colors that seriously people would have walked by and been like, "What the heck are you watching? That's horrible." So I decided to start out with something that looks good, right? And so they give you some suggestions here at this site, which I think is pretty good. So I just use these colors because it looked pretty. Notice that once I deviated from those colors, it starts to get ugly, right? Because that's my fault. And so these colors right here, like the blue and this, whatever this is, starts to look not part of the theme. But notice this looks like it belongs together. Any other questions?
Yes, from Nate. Has there been any discussion internally from Reporting 101 about the styles repository for the community?
We've talked about that. It's definitely a very, very, very interesting notion, but we can't say I don't have enough information to say about that. I'd have to talk to the developers, but yeah, it would definitely be a great idea to do that. It's something that I would definitely like to see. If you guys have reports that you've already styled and would like to show, there are 3 files. Let me talk about this briefly. There are 3 files that you can have with a report. You have the regex file, which is the report definition. You have the repss file, which is the report styles. And then there's one more. I don't remember what it's called. There it is. It's the prnx file. If you guys want to start building some cool reports and sending me those 3 files, I'd be happy to start showcasing them. Right? Again, the 3 files are, let me type on the screen. So type. The first one is the .repx, which is the report definition. The second is the repss, which is the report styles. And the last is the prnx file, which is the actual report. I would say data plus everything. It's just the report render. So I'm going to say report, and I'm going to put in quotes rendered. If you guys have examples of this kind of stuff, send them to me, and I'll put them on a page somewhere, man. I really want to see. This is mostly for my benefit, but don't tell anybody. I'm seriously horrible at making reports look nice. And so any input I get from you guys would be swell with a capital S and a W, which is a lot.
Well.
Yeah. Thank you. That was the word I was looking for. Good job. Good question.
All right, you got, yes. We have from is code at compile time and script at runtime?
Yeah, I would say so. What happens is we actually have to compile the scripts as well. But notice the reason why it happens is because the scripts form part of the rendering, right? Notice that the events that we put into the code did not happen. Well, maybe, I'm not sure. Let me double check. Let's take this code and let's take it out. And let's put the other code back in. I need to, because I don't want to tell you a lie, because then I'm a liar, you know, and there's already enough liars in New York. Nobody thought I was funny? It's just me? Thanks for the... Right.
People are gonna get you.
I know. Oh, no. There's someone at the door with a suit trying to get in. Someone barricade the door. Yeah, notice it didn't happen here. So, yeah, I'm going to say, just based upon my empirical evidence, that the scripts form part of the rendering, and so they have to be taken into account. when you're writing this, this happens when you're at compile time when you're running stuff. So yeah, it's good observation. Good observation. All right, let me put it back. Any other questions?
Yes, from Peter. Can you have a fallback font like you would in CSS?
Like a default font?
He says fallback, but yeah, maybe default.
So this is okay. This is what I do. What's his name again?
Peter.
Peter. What I do, Peter, is I have gotten into a habit of going onto the report itself. So let's go to the designer, and I always go and I say, okay, if I want a particular style for the entire report, I just pretend. What I do is I just go and I set the styles here, right? So that is the, quote, in my opinion, default font. So if you don't set the font in the control itself, it will sort of, that will become the fallback style for that particular control or font. I hope that's sufficient. I'm not sure maybe I understood all the way. So if I didn't answer it, do ask again. All right, any other questions?
Let's see. We do have a comment.
Oh,
I think you'll find interesting.
Okay.
Marcus is wondering if you're related to Seth Rogen. You sound just like him. You could be twin brothers.
He's my dad. I really didn't want to get into this in this show because obviously there's some problems. I moved back to LA just to see if I can get together again, but he hasn't really been returning my phone calls, and the restraining order was a bit hurtful. Yeah.
So awkward.
Yeah, I know.
Let's see. Does it make sense to use the categories table? How does it render?
Categories table. Oh, I see. Yeah, this would be a separate sort of report. So let's see if I can add another band here. Now, I'm not sure. Do they mean in a separate band or in a separate report? I'm not sure what they mean all the way.
I'm not sure either. Maybe he can fill us in if.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's see.
We'll have to go back to that.
We'll go back to that. My question is, if the extra reports install config has a font setting, can that be changed?
Install config. I'm not quite sure what they mean by that. You can set, so one of the things you can do is when you instantiate the report, maybe this will answer. Let me try answering it this way. So when you instantiate the report, notice you can say orders dot, let's see, they said font color or font?
Yes.
You can set the font here before it renders, right? And that would override it. So, so let's see. Let's do Arial. And font style equal bold or something.
He clarifies, so when an extra report is instantiated, the font is already set?
Yeah, we set it to Times New Roman 9.75 as the default. That's why I always go in there and change it, because Times New Roman to me seems, it doesn't seem as new as the font advertises. You know? It's just something that's troublesome to me. Any other questions or comments?
Yes. Are you planning to add support for design layout controls such as group box to enclose groups of labels, boxes with rounded corners, etc.?
That's a good question. I would totally submit a suggestion on that. We do have what's called an XR panel. All right, so you'll see it right here. Oh, too far. We have an XR panel, but I don't know if it shapes. Oops. There you go. There's the XR panel. Oops. I want to grab it. Why is it not grabbing? Let's click that. Oh, there we go. Okay. but we can't really do rounded things in them quite yet. It's definitely a very interesting question. Yes, please send a suggestion, and I will put it in. Any other questions?
Yes, there's a clarification to the categories table question. He says, in the report, not a separate band.
Oh, I guess the problem I would have with that is that these things are not related. So they seem to me to be like two different reports, right? So I could try to put it in a separate band. Let's see if I can add a new detail. Let's see here. Let's go to Report Explorer and insert band. Yeah, it looks like there's only one detail band you can put into the particular into this particular report. So if say you wanted a report like that. Say you wanted a customer orders, and then you wanted a report, and then at the end of the report you wanted to have all the categories. What I would do is I would create a separate report and stitch them together, or in the report footer of the other report, add the categories report as a sub-report. That's what I would do. Any other questions?
Yes. How can I add a style dot rep ss file with code?
Oh, so say you already have that set up, right? And okay, what you do is you say orders dot style sheet path, right? And you give it the path of the style sheet, right? So you can load that up. You can load that up from a path. Say you're clever and you stored that, you serialized this style sheet into a database. What you can say is you can say order.styles, style sheet, equals new style sheet, and then deserialize that into this object and set it up in there. Oh, maybe you can. The only way you can do it looks like is if you have a path. So looks like this is read only. So the best way to do it is to store it in a path and then apply to there. So say you did store it in a database. What I would do is I would just deserialize it, put it into the executing assembly path, and then just load it up. Okay, good question. Any other questions?
How do you intercept the preview event in code?
That's a good question. I don't know how to answer that just yet, although I am working on some things. For example, one of the things that I want to demonstrate is how to use services to get data to do previews. And so I'll work on that. Send me that question offline because it's probably going to take longer than we have time for. But yeah, who asked that?
I'm going to kill his name. Hui?
Hui. Oh, I know him. Oh, let me look. Guyan? Yeah, I know him. How you doing? It's good you're here.
The development team actually has an answer for you.
Oh,
that I'm just
hey.
now looking at. They say it's a before print event.
Yeah.
Before print event.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I don't know why I didn't think of that. I just did a before print event. Yeah, good answer. Yeah.
Okay.
It's quarter after.
Okay. It's a quarter after. I'll take two more questions.
Okay, let's see. Can the end user designer do everything the Visual Studio report designer does?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much, except for it can do more because you can code your own magic into it. And I wish I had like a sound effect to do like the, like the harp magic.
That?
Yeah, not quite like that, but it's a good try. Thanks. All right, any other questions?
Yeah, some colors render poorly on a printer. Should I change the style before going to the printer?
Yes, if you want to render it perfectly for your printer, I would probably choose fonts and colors that look good on your printer, right? Or you could buy a new printer because they're cheaper than cartridges. So that's just a little tech tip for you guys out there.
Wow.
No, you really ever go try to buy a cartridge? It's like $80. Like I could buy a new Lexmark printer for $20.
Yeah.
What the heck?
Crazy how expensive ink is.
I know. I tell you. Even in New York, they're expensive.
All right.
All right.
Well, everyone, we do save this questions log, so Seth, you'll get a chance to look through and see, what was going on in the back end and address any questions we didn't get to
Wonderful.
during the webinar.
Well, everybody, thank you for showing up. And if you have any questions, please send them offline. My email address is sethj@devexpress.com, and I welcome your questions because they help me help you help me help you. That was recursive for those of you that didn't notice, but I had to shorten the stack on that because Mahul's getting tired. Mahul just said, "You complete me." I don't know what to.
Oh, okay. Go have a pillow fight. We'll talk to you later.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Seth. And everybody, a quick peek. Oh, Seth, do you want to talk about why you all are in New York for just a quick peek?
Hey, yes. It turns out Mahul has been accepted to be a member of the Rockettes, so we've come to support him. This weekend we have the New York City Give Camp where almost 100 developers are going to get together for 9 charities and build software for 72 hours straight. We also, and I need to say this, tonight, we are having a mixer here in New York City. The details are online if you want to go look at it. It's going to be great. I'm going to do the robot, not just the voice, but the dance. And so those that want to see the robot need to show up. That's tonight. Tomorrow at 5, we're going to get together with these 100 developers. It's like the master slumber party. I am going to wear my Hello Kitty pajamas and bring my Hello Kitty pillow, and we are going to be writing code for charities. We have 9 charities that we're writing code for. It's going to be great. Imagine being able to write software without a manager. Holy cow, I just got excited thinking about that. That's great. Yeah, and so that's what we're doing. Also in February, I'm going to be in Fort Lauderdale at the South Florida Code Camp, and in March, at the beginning of March, I'm going to be in Dallas Day of .NET. So come see me. I'd love to talk to you about reports.
Wow.
And also, if you have a company in Florida or Dallas and you want me to come see you and see what you're doing, love to swing by and talk to you personally.
Awesome. Thanks, Seth.
No
Have
problem.
fun.
Thanks.
Okay, everybody, so a quick peek into next week. Next Monday, January 17th, Woody Pewitt is back with Exploring Common Pivot Data Views. Seeing how data can be represented in the pivot control can spark ideas for your interface. We'll look at several scenarios and show how to use data to users in effective ways. And Tuesday, we have another Code Rush webinar at its time, noon Pacific Standard, declaring and refactoring properties with Code Rush and Mark Miller and Roy Becker. And Wednesday's webinar is ASP.NET HTML Editor Getting Started. Learn how to use the ASPX HTML Editor from scratch with our very own Mahul Harry. We have a full lineup of webinars through the end of January. Check them out at www.devexpress.com/webinars. And again, if you missed anything from this webinar or you want to review previous webinars or watch hundreds of DevExpress product tutorials online, visit us on the DevExpress channel at tv.devexpress.com. Again, thanks so much for joining us, and thank you for choosing DevExpress.